Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for a sort of somewhat planned. It was sort of planned between me and James as of yesterday. We're sort of trying to plan it out today. I don't know connections working at James's end. It's gone blank on my end, but it is what it is. There he is. Yeah, bit of transfer news to discuss with James. One in particular, not the big one everyone's going to be talking about today because of the announcement a couple of an hour or so ago. But obviously, from James' perspective, Jurrien Timber from Ajax. James lives in Holland, literally stone's throw from the Johan Cruyff Arena. First off and foremost is, how are you, James, and how's your summer been so far? Oh, there's no sound. I can't hear you, James. Don't know what's going on. This is brilliant. This is okay. I don't know. You want to go out and log back in, and then we'll see if it works then. But yeah, whilst we wait for James to, hopefully we can sort out the connection issue there, the sound and all that. That's the only issue there, clearly. Don't know what happened, because it's on mine, nothing was saying it was muted, and he tried to mute it and unmute, and it was, I don't know. Anyway, whilst you wait, obviously, yeah, the big news in the last 24 hours is we've got our two signings we know. Most of us have known it's been done for about 7 to 6 days now. But Arsenal being Arsenal, just wanted to kick it down the road and delay it, more so to piss off West Ham, because they was just throwing their toys at their plan publicly. So every time they made it more public, we was like, okay, there's another 24 hours. There's another 24 hours. And to the point where obviously we're going away to the States tomorrow. We've had to announce it today at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Bit of a weird way they did it, but we'll get back to it. See if it works now.
Hello.
Yep. We've got sound. Yay.
Yeah, the wonders of technology. You think it would be easier as time goes on, but even when you're clued up, something always happens. But at least we're in a position to be able to do something like this. It's been a good summer so far, Ryan, and great to be speaking to you as always.
Yeah, as I say, it's good to speak to you, especially again when, just to catch people up, when the news broke about you and Timber in particular, I straight away did contact you. I know it was a bit late, so I did apologise at the time, obviously, and WhatsApp and all that. But the plan was, once it was officially done and dusted, if it was to happen, to bring you on, because obviously you got more insight than what I have, of most of the viewers I have, in terms of you and Timber as a player and what we're getting as a person as well. But what have you made in terms of the business so far? What have you made of it so far, and getting it done early? Because it's not Arsenal like to get it done early either.
No, but there's also no guarantees. No guarantees, Ryan. And what it does is it ramps up the pressure for this season. It really does.
Yeah.
We have got to win something this year. It's vitally important that we win something this year, not just because of the outlay, not just because of the investment, but this will be Arteta's 4th full season in charge of Arsenal. He's got to win something. He really has got to win something, and it's just the outlay has been nothing short of incredible. And although Jurrien Timber is a good, versatile player, you worry about Austin Trusty, didn't you? I mean, Austin Trusty goes on loan to Birmingham, becomes Player of the Year at a difficult club, especially in the current climate. And he returns to Arsenal, and what is his reward? Oh, we'll buy another player for 50 million.
Basically, on your trot, basically. On your trot.
They did the same to Ballard. They did the same to Daniel Ballard, who's now one of the best defenders in the Championship. Yeah. And there is no guarantee. Buying is not the only solution. But one thing I will say, Ryan, Ajax fans, they're not disappointed he's gone. And they're also pleased that Arsenal have paid an awful lot of money for him. And he's versatile, he's got a good attitude, he's quick. But he's got to improve his heading ability. That's for sure. Because second balls in English football in the Premier League, one note of improvement has got to be his heading ability.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, in terms of obviously saying that Ajax fans aren't exactly ball in their eyes and not, if anything, ecstatic we've paid the amount we've paid. But I've got to say, you wouldn't have guessed that by the video, by the way, that Ajax put out, because obviously they put out this video with like young kids coming in saying where you're off to, what you've still got to do, this, that, and the other. I thought it was a nice, good video they did in terms of him, his leaving video, and the touch at the end in terms of a kid in the doorway with the Arsenal kit, sort of acknowledging he's going on to something new, and he even put a statement out as well on his social media saying, hoping one day to come back to Ajax, and maybe it could be improved. But how old is he? What, 20? He's around 22, give or take.
Yeah, to elaborate on returning to Ajax, he actually said it to the Dutch outlet NOS before he boarded the plane to go to England, because the translation I sent through to you of that video with the Dutch outlet NOS. Yeah, I did that mid-afternoon. It didn't take me all of 5 minutes.
No, I've got to say,
I couldn't do it. Obviously, you're going about your day. You're doing what you need to do. Yeah. But you know, I've been doing translation work with my own interviews from Dutch to English for more than almost approaching a decade now. So you know, it's very easy to do. But he was saying that he's leaving Ajax with pride, and he hopes to return one day. But if you think of our centre-back options, Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba, Kirill, who I expect a lot of this season. I think Kirill, I think he's going to kick on in a positive sense. And obviously, Timber can also play as a right back. He can also play in central midfield. You know, there are options there, but he's going to have to up his game, because to go away and play in Utrecht, and to play away at Heerenveen, and to play away at Groningen. Okay, they've been relegated since. It's a completely different ball game going to Anfield, going to Old Trafford, and going to Villa Park. So it's going to be really interesting. And I just think with the outlay, I just think it ramps up the pressure, because I was at the City grounds when we got beat by Forest, and I echo the sentiments of my mate that was standing next to me. And we've watched us lose. And he said to me, he said, James, he said, we've not so much lost it as giving it to him on a plate. And
in terms of City winning the league,
And for that game, for Xhaka to play left back and Tierney to be on the bench, I couldn't believe it. I mean, Forest deserved to win that game. Of course they did. I mean, the home fans' rendition of Mullen Kintyre beforehand, I've never known anything like it. But, you know, it's well done to Forest then. But it just ramps up the pressure, because with the investment involved, with the money involved, what is the fan base going to be like if we don't win anything next season? What are you going to do? What are you going to say? What are you going to say about trust the process? What, for how long? Because as I was saying to you on our WhatsApp message, history books will tell you, money or no money, Man City have won a treble. Man City won a Champions League. We haven't. Man City weren't in the Champions League for 23 years on the trot. We were. You know, so it's what history will tell you. And you know, we used to, some fractions of Arsenal fans used to say to Liverpool, "Oh, it's 30 years since your last title." Well, we're 20 years coming up this season if we don't win it. So whereas we used to laugh, and I didn't, but some sections of the fans did, we're also approaching the same time frame, and we haven't got 6 European Cups to our name like they have. You know, so sometimes you have to really think about what you say. And it's going to be a really interesting season. But I reiterate once again, Ryan, we've got to win something. We really have got to win something.
Especially the way things went last season, because you were saying that during the season as well, we was coming on, and we were chatting privately, like, even just before like the Sporting Lisbon tie and all that, you're saying that we've got to win at least one of the two. You can play good football, not the way we did all season, but if we don't win that, it means nothing. And it's getting to a point, as you say now, as you say, playing the good football, showing improvement, making additions in the agony of not winning the league and winning anything last season in general, putting big money out on Declan Rice as well. That's big pressure. As we saw with Pepe, might not work, but we'll see. Hopefully it does this time. Jurrien Timber's been brought in. Kai Havertz, there's a majority of this fan base that aren't sold on him. I'm on the fence at the moment. I want to see him in Arsenal colours and see what Arteta has planned for him positional wise, because I believe that with Chelsea, the way Havertz likes to play never suited Chelsea, and vice versa and all that. So it's never going to work there. Whereas we're more expansive, open, and attacking. I hope it does work, obviously, but I want to see what Arteta's actual plan is with him. In terms of Nuremberg on was it Thursday? Sorry, I'm not reading too much into that second half of how Havertz, because he was played out on the left. He's not going to be played out on the left. He's not going to be our left winger next season, because we've got Martinelli, we've got Smith Rowe, we've got Trossard and all that. They can play out on the left anyway. They're regulars there, so I want to see that. I want to see what happens there. But as you say, big outlays have been put now. That the ownership in general, I've said it for a while now, since the fallout of the Super League debacle, and it was a debacle, they've sort of got the head at their backsides, and they are backing the manager and saying, if Arteta and Edu say this is who we want, 9 times out of 10, the owners have gone, okay, we'll give you the money, off you go. It's now going to get to a point, as you say, now we've got that taste of competing for the title last season. The pressure's now on Arteta even more, not just because of the amount of money he spent, but to maintain what he did last year, but go and win something, as you say. Because if he doesn't, I think even the owners will be thinking, well, hang on, you'll be come this time next year, it'll be 4.5 years since you've been at the club. In the 4 full seasons you would have been with us, we haven't won a major trophy. We've spent all this money. Where are we going, basically? And then it'll be, do we get someone else in to take this squad to another level? And you get doing questions. I personally, I think we win. I do think we'll win something, but we've got to take every competition seriously, like you've said before. Even Champions League, we're in. There's no point of being in the Champions League qualifying, doing all this thing to get back into it, just to make up the numbers.
Exactly.
I'm sick of just being in it for the sake of it. Just going. We've got a team now. We've got a good. I know the only thing we've mentioned the last couple of years since Ramsdale's coming is that he's not played enough European football. It's always been at the number 2, whoever that may be, Turner last year or whatever. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. Unless Turner's going to be a European goalkeeper. Again, I don't like this thing of the number 2 has to be the European goalkeeper in the knockout rounds or the group stages, still the later stages. It should be your strongest team, including your goalkeeper, from the get-go, unless he's got a little knock or something, then you obviously switch him out, obviously. But so I think you go your strongest. I mean, back in the day, when Wenger first came along, it was David Seaman, no matter what. The number 2 was just there, just in case you got injured, basically. Alex Manninger, wasn't it? Alex Manninger was a good goalkeeper. Let's not get it twisted. But he would just because he was a good goalkeeper didn't mean Stuart Taylor as well. But they didn't mean because they were number 2, they were guaranteed European minutes for the sake of it.
No, exactly. And I'll touch on Stuart Taylor. Some people watching today might not know who he is, but some that's been around the block, what I'm about to say, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, I've been a Gooner this is my 34th season as a Gooner. I kid you not, Ryan, one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen is when we beat Juventus and Taylor was in goal at Highbury. And he he stopped shot after shot after shot after shot after shot. Nedved, Trezeguet, Del Piero, they were manic. And that remains one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen from any Arsenal goalkeeper. So it just goes to show the in a particular match that is. And we met up, I think, at Bodo Glimt last September, I think it was. And,
I think it was,
we won the game comfortably, but that second half, the chances that Bodo Glimt had, if that was a better team, they would have come back to draw that game.
Yeah.
And I was in the away end in Eindhoven for when we lost, and Ramsdale didn't have the greatest game, and also the game against FC Zurich as well. Fantastic goal by Tierney, brilliant goal, but the level that he's going up to now, going to places like maybe Madrid, Napoli, Milan, Bayern Munich, it's a completely different kettle of fish. So we've got to try to win something, and also it's the last Champions League before it gets changed to a Super League in everything but name.
Yeah.
And you think how many how many bites of the cherry we've had. I mean, I'll give you an example. If this was someone taking their driving test, the DVLA would say, right, I'm sorry, you've had too many bites of the
Enough's
cherry.
enough, yeah.
Enough's enough. You know, and I wouldn't have minded if we hadn't been in it much, but we'd have won it once. But it's the level of participation where the attitude was, we're in it, and that's the most important thing. That might have been fine for the fans going to the away games in lovely places throughout Europe that have got money in their pocket to do it. Brilliant, more power to them. But for the fan base, it's just a level of a little bit of embarrassment. I mean, I'm approaching 40, and I've seen West Ham with as many European trophies as my club. No, I've got nothing against West Ham. Fellow London club. Always want London clubs to do well, but I've seen West Ham win as many European trophies as my club. And we've been in more European finals. Exactly, but also we've participated in more tournaments. And one thing I'd love them to do, and I've got nothing against Odegaard, but it would be a massive state of intent if before the start of the Charity Shields we give Declan Rice the armband.
Would you do that yourself?
Yes.
Would you?
I would.
Yeah, cool.
Because he's done something that we haven't had a European captain do since 1994, and that is lift a European trophy. I'm not saying he's the missing link, Ryan, but what
no, not the same, but the leadership qualities
to win a European trophy. And I think the change in attitude, I've got nothing against Odegaard, but I think for the money we've paid for Rice, give him the captaincy, and that's it. Now he's the next O'Leary, Adams, Vieira, if you like. That's him. Yeah. And, as I say, if we can get that right, then that could be the start. If you couple that with winning a trophy, because you can't pick and choose what you win. You know, I blew my top when we got knocked out of the League Cup by Brighton, and everyone's like saying, "No, don't worry about it. We've got bigger fish to fry." I said, "But it's a trophy," and then And so
I said the exact same thing. I was in a group chat at the time. I got kicked. The thing is, I got kicked out of the group chat for it on the night of getting knocked out by Brighton because I kicked off, because I was so disappointed and so angry that the lack of respect we showed at home. We not just showed Brighton in the game, but we showed the competition. And this is just before going into a World Cup. And I thought, when I looked at it at one point, and then I stepped back, I thought maybe it's because of the next round. The next round is literally like days after the World Cup. Maybe they're expecting this, that, and the other. But at the same time, Man United, look at the team they got all the way to the final, the route they got.
Charlton,
they went on to win it and all that. So I think if we took it seriously and knocked Brighton out, even though it would have been a bit of a pain in the backside, having the next round days after a World Cup final. Was it Charlton we would have had? I'm trying to think now. Was it Charlton we would have had?
Charlton, Burnley. But the pressure would have been off just that little bit because we might have won something.
Exactly. My point is, if we'd gone further, if we'd taken it seriously. So if we've taken it seriously, James, in terms of knocked out Brighton, and then obviously the draw still played out the way it had done for Brighton, stretching all the way through and all that, there's no one can tell me the squad we had last year would not have knocked out Man United along the way and not won that competition if we got to the final, even though it would have been Newcastle in the final, respectively. Because we had our squad, our strongest squad, is better than United, because obviously they're going through transition in this, that, and the other. And let's be honest, looking at United run, they just got through them games. They didn't exactly blow teams away.
Exactly.
Whereas, so if we turned up, knocked Brighton out, and then took it seriously from there on in, and then as that stage just go, get forward, play your strongest team, I think we would have won something. We could have won that, but I don't know why, but obviously there's no excuses here. There's no World Cup in the middle of the season, so they can't use that as an excuse to sacrifice a cup there. We're spending money. That's the crux of it all. The money is being spent. So that, as I said, referred to it earlier, Joss and Stan will be thinking now, right, you gave us a taste. We've now backed you a bit more and give you more what you want. get us something.
Mm.
And then if we do get us something, be it the league or the Champions League, along with a domestic trophy, so for example, Champions League FA Cup or Champions League League Cup, or the Premier League and FA Cup, or the Premier League and League Cup. If you get us
or
at
even
least
a cup
two,
double,
even a cup double,
some tangible that you can, because
yeah.
you can't pick and choose, Ryan. And
No, exactly. That's why I'm giving the varieties of any sort of trophy, double or whatever. It gives us that relief of we're going in the right direction, but also gives the owners thinking we are doing the right thing here. We have got the right man, etc., etc. But and this is what comes with it now. I know he's again the rookie manager and all that compared to the rest of the league, most of it anyway, in terms of Premier League wise. But this is why he gets in. This is why he took the job and all that in the first place. The whole point was to get us back to our competitive days. But now we need to actually get over the line. I mean, I admit back in January I started believing that we were going to do it because it just looked like it was just clicking for us. Everything was falling for us, and then when it came down to when Man City were chasing, and we had after that last international break of the season from Anfield onwards, it's like the pressure got to this squad, and because they haven't been here before and been chased or been in the title race in general, it got to them, and they made errors, and it cost us. They made the errors, and we were 2-0 up. I mean, we were 2-0 up, and then obviously the little getting the fact that Xhaka getting in a scuff with was it Trent, and then they broke the fans up.
Completely
2 minutes
unnecessary.
later, 2 minutes later it's 2-1, and then they got a penalty. They missed it, thankfully, but then they go on to equalise, and then they could have won it, and then we could have won it at the end, but we didn't. Then you fast forward a week later, away to West Ham, ironically, 2-0 up there, coasting, not really playing our best football. Don't get me wrong, but we're showing our strength, our superiority compared to West Ham squad at the time, because West Ham at that time were struggling domestically, and they were heavy favourites to go down at that point. But one mistake from Thomas Partey, again, ironically, against Declan Rice, let them back in, and we all know how that played out. And then from there on in, we just fell apart, and we were making mistakes we shouldn't be making. We weren't making for the rest of the season, but prior to that, but also dropping points at the worst time, going on a bad blip when you can't afford being that blip.
No,
because I remember when we did that 1-1 draw against Brentford. I know there's a bit of a media thing over in it. I don't know if it was being played out in Holland for you guys, but obviously the goal that was disallowed, the goal that was allowed for Brentford sort of been disallowed apparently, this and the other. They VAR forgot to draw the lines. There's a big massive kickoff for a week. And I remember the day after the Brentford game, talking to Kevin Campbell, and he was saying, I'd rather, because this was on the back of the draw, losing to Everton, drawing against them, and they had Man City around the corner. He said, I'd rather us go through this bit now, get it out of our system now, and then kick on. And it looks like we had. It looked like we got that out of our system after the Man City game and sort of kicked on. And then we just, as you say, we gave it to them on a plate in the end. And that was the frustrating thing in the end. From the full-time whistle from the home game against Southampton, who, by the way, got relegated, which is even worse. You can't beat Southampton home or away in a season. But it just, you could tell, even watching it from home, that the players, they knew the end was nigh, that they weren't going to get over the line in terms of winning this league title last season now. And they just showed they didn't even hide it, because Brighton was our next game, I think it was.
Yeah, lost that one.
And we got absolutely, and we didn't get out of second gear, third gear in that one. We didn't. It was a weird atmosphere on the day, and then obviously they scored, and then we just gave, and again the players just gave up, and then fans were leaving 15 minutes before the end because the players weren't showing nothing, so they thought, why we're going to stay here paying our money for that? And then a week later, on my birthday, by the way, it made it even worse for me. We go away to Forest, and we just, again, all due respect to Forest, I know they had a good record last season at home, but give them something to think about. We did nothing to give them anything to think about. And also, what was confusing to me at the time was the Brighton game, and then was it Brighton? No, not Brighton. Sorry, the Forest game in particular. Arteta started trying new things, like with playing Thomas Partey as an inverted right back, which is a position, by the way, in terms of right back, he hasn't played since his Atletico days in the early days. Since that's what 7 years ago. He was before he played us.
Yeah.
So that baffled me, and it was like, why testing the waters now? I know it's like, come on, you do these sort of things, these little tests you can do pre-season, like now with Nuremberg and things like that, and obviously M&S All Stars coming up and all that. You do it pre-season. You don't do it in the back end of a. I know it's back end of a season. It's sort of in City's hands to lose at the time, but just don't do it. Don't risk it, because you never know. We could have, if we'd won that game against, if we turned up, if we'd beaten Brighton, for example, beaten Forest, we'd take it to the last day. You never know what happens, but it was just like you're making, as I say, you're just making you're doing little things where you didn't need to at that time. It was like, why risk it? And you risked it, and you backfired. But now, obviously, getting certain players in, like obviously Jurrien Timber, who's a versatile. Let's say about Arteta, he does like his versatile players a lot. Apart from Ramsdale, every player in that 11 is a versatile player, can play multiple positions. I mean, we're seeing Kiwa now being played at inverted left back against Nuremberg. So,
well, you were saying that why do it now? It's an experience, isn't it? Normally, you do that at a lower level before you get the Arsenal job. Normally, Arteta is exceptionally lucky, but he starts his managerial career at the third biggest football club in the whole of England. So how lucky is it to start there are factually two clubs bigger than what we are, Man United and Liverpool. In recent years, in terms of trophies, we've been eclipsed by City and eclipsed by Chelsea, but you can't put a price on history. For me, the moment where we lost it at Sporting Lisbon. Now, what I'm going to say, people might think, oh no, but I mean it. He sends the players out. You send them out of the changing room, Ryan, with a final instruction. This is what you got to do. You're playing Sporting Lisbon. Now he sends them out. Out they go. 8 minutes later, he's going absolutely bananas in his technical area. 8 minutes. Imagine being a player. Imagine being a winger. I wouldn't want to play for Arteta. If I used to play as a right back, but I wasn't Philip Lahm or Danny Alves or anything like that. But if I played as a right back and I had him in my ear hole for 90 minutes, I'd say, stuff this for a game with toy soldiers. I'm going elsewhere, because you've got to be able to trust your players. You've got to be able to trust your players to know what they've got to do. And yes, Steve Round's also gone, and Staudenberg, as good as he is as an assistant, it's a massive season where we've got to win. We've got to win something. We really have. And whether that's League Cup, FA Cup, Champions League or League, as long as there's a piece of silverware put on the sideboard in May 2024, I will be a happy bunny. But I think it's going to be a long old season. We spoke about the ticket situation as well. I think they listened to our podcast last season. They've now reintroduced the ballot, which I think is fairer. It's fairer when you've got the silver members logging in and the red members logging in. So gives people that opportunity. But massive season coming up, really. And we've got to try to get a piece of silver.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of the ballot system, people know my thoughts on it. In terms of the teething problems we've seen already, in terms of people, I've seen on my social media and all that, people I've made friends with and all that. They've not even got, because obviously the whole thing is successful or not successful. You'll get an email no matter what. Some people are getting the email and then being able to charge and all that, and some people don't get the email. They only find out they're successful or not. They get charged more than £1 from the ballot, basically. So there's little issues they need to sort out, but we'll see how it plays out. But if it's going to stop fully these ticketing tout sites and all that grabbing every single ticket the second we suddenly become somewhat competitive or somewhat viable for financial gain for them, then I'm all for it. That was the main thing that done me back in the last years. As we met up for Villa, Aston Villa, wasn't it? We met up.
We met up a fair few times.
Met a few times. The first time was at Villa. We were talking about it.
Forest last October, I think.
Yeah.
Because I only had 3 home games in the Premier League last season, which was Fulham, Villa, and Forest, and then Bodo Klimt and Zurich. So I only had 5. But I was quite lucky as with my membership that when I logged in for Fulham and Villa, it was early days. So it was like logging in without any trouble. When you've got
the warning signs were there, weren't
where they are, yeah. When you've got the ticket run because of where they are, and also with the Europa League, everybody wanted PSV. And I didn't. I wanted Bodo Klimt and FC Zurich, so I was quite lucky with that. But I think the ballot is fairer. But I mean, like I say, we've been so lucky through the years with games that you've got to think of other people. I mean, I've been very fortunate. So for me, I'm in the Premier League. I'm hoping for Luton next April, but that's a long way off. And in terms of Champions League, if we get a Sociedad or a Lens or a Leipzig. I won't be able to say no to that, but
but it depends on the draw, doesn't it?
Napoli, if we get a Napoli, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid, I've been fortunate to do them before. So you want to think of others. You want to give other Gooners an opportunity. I'm not greedy in that respect.
No, exactly. And in terms of Champions League, as I say, we know in terms of one of the teams is going to be from the Champions pot, so it could be Barcelona, which again we've pretty much every Arsenal fan seen Arsenal play Barcelona in the last 20 years, freaking times. So that's not again, it's not the bar. It's not again. Even if we did get Barcelona, it wouldn't be the same as it was. They might get the pull there. They're there for the taking sort of vibes from the Arsenal fan base. So it'd be like a feedful for that. But apart from that, it's like we've seen it before. Bayern Munich, we've seen it before. Whereas like the pot 2, 3, 4, you might get something different, and if we do, fantastic, because it gets. We were saying before back when we were last in this competition, getting to the knockout rounds and going, oh, Bayern Munich again, oh, Barcelona again, oh, Bayern Munich again, oh, Barcelona again, oh, Monaco,
getting knocked out by Monaco, or getting knocked.
Oh, Monaco, we're going to win this. We're out.
But I mean, if you think of our last Champions League group off the top of my head, when we was last in it, Basel, Ludogorets, and Paris Saint-Germain. And I took my chances. Everybody focused on Paris Saint-Germain. I focused on Basel and Ludogorets, and Bob's your uncle. But you've got to take your chances when they come. But from my point of view, obviously attending games from Amsterdam, I know it's not going to last forever. So you just take your chances when they come. And it's like with the Premier League, apart from Luton at home, you've seen them all at the Emirates through the years. So especially with the logistics involved, it's nice to give the other Gooner an opportunity. It's the same with Sporting Lisbon back in March. I was at the I think we were at the group phase Sporting Lisbon game where we drew 0-0. Yeah. And, so even though it's not knockout, but it's still Sporting Lisbon with Nani and Mathieu and I think the Fernandez, I think they had as well. So, you just have to take your chances when they come. But it's very much a sign of the times with the commercialism. I mean, Arsenal seem to bring out new kits and new training wear every single week.
Yeah,
you don't have to buy it. I mean, I haven't brought a shirt for 15 seasons now. Now, if you can count 15 seasons, the price of a new shirt, how much money you've saved, and for me, a program's enough. You used to have your ticket stub. Now it's in your Apple wallet. But it's just unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, this is good. This is a good point from the Aussie Gooner, by the way. It says this young team might need to be baptised under fire in the Champions League. It will, because most of them.
Yeah, no, very good point, and that
most of them haven't got that experience.
No, but also the big hitters. It's the last Champions League run, so they're going to want to go out in style. They're going to want to win it one last time.
Look at Madrid. Look at Madrid. Look what Madrid are doing. They're trying to do everything they can to get Mbappe now. They've got Jude Bellingham in the doors, young English prospect, big European. What he's been built up in Dortmund and all that. They're starting to realise they need to sort of move on the old guard somewhat, and they're starting to. They want to make it fist of it because they got. Let's be honest, even though they got to the semi-finals, they got humbled and embarrassed by Man City, especially more so in the second leg when it was at the Etihad. And I think that sort of, as a pedigree European champion team that they are, that would have hurt them. And I think that's maybe given them a kick at the backside, possibly they maybe needed, because obviously with the tag that they have, the 14-time most winning European Cup winning team, they might have got a bit arrogant. Oh, it's only little City and things like that. We'll see them off and all that. And it obviously this time it backfired on them, because obviously the season before they even though we all say they sort of fluked their way to the final and fluked their way to winning it, they still won it. They still had the know-how.
But if you'd have watched them domestically that season, they looked fantastic.
Yeah,
I watched them a lot domestically because I've got the channel which shows the La Liga here, and I watched them and they looked. I mean, I went to put a bet on that they'd win it, and I was standing at the newsagents and I asked the guy who I know behind the newsagents, the owner, I said, "Can I put €20 on Real Madrid winning the Champions League?" And the guy behind me started laughing. So I turned around. I said, "What are you laughing at?" He said, "Oh, they're not going to win it." I said, "But when you've got a spine of Courtois, Militao, Kroos, Modric and Benzema, you've always got a chance." And what happens? They won it. But it was watching them at domestic where they look so solid that for me it was no surprise. But I'm delighted for Bellingham that he's taken the opportunity to stay abroad. But if I was Bellingham, I'd be doing my nut that you leave Dortmund with, you had the Bundesliga in the palm of your hand.
Last day, yeah.
But their manager, I looked at the starting lineup when they lost to Mainz, Ryan. You got four starters on the bench.
Yeah.
4.
I didn't get it.
So play them, go 3-0 up, and then take them off.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like there was a cup final a week later or something, or a few days later.
Exactly.
It's the last game of the season. It's in your hands. There's a point in it. No steps are afforded in this. Get it against your bit of rivals. End this domestic abuse and monopoly, basically, from Bayern Munich. No. We'll basically give it to them on the plate, basically. And even when Bayern Munich got pegged back at 1-1, because I was watching the game here in the UK, they did it on Sky here in the UK because they cover it. And I was like back and forth and all that between the two teams. And I was like, okay, back over to Dortmund, and they missed. I think it was Sebastian Haller missed a pen, and it was just like, so as soon as it looks like they're going their way, Bayern Munich found a way, got the winner, just held out and just went, okay, thank you very much. Handbrake on, we're going to do our bit, see what Dortmund do now. And then Dortmund went behind straight afterwards. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, this is the opportunity. I think this was the opportunity, because the first time, and I don't know how long, the Bundesliga actually went down to the last day. It wasn't won by Bayern Munich, even though it was won by them, but it wasn't won by 20, 25 point gaps months in advance, basically. They were made to work with. They were weak. They were there for the taking, and now they're going to strengthen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, under Tuchel, they'll no doubt get even better. You know, even I watched some of the Dutch commentary as well, and they had Matthijs de Ligt. He didn't know what to say to Daniel Marlon when they met up for international duty. But I'm delighted for de Ligt, because I saw him as a 17-year-old, and to be 23 years of age, and to have won Serie A, Eredivisie, and the Bundesliga, you're on easy street for the rest of your career now. The pressure's off in terms of the medals that you've won. Whatever he wins now is a bonus in terms of if he goes to Spain, if he comes to England. But some people don't win a sausage, and he's done really, really well, and I'm delighted for him. So, but it just goes to show. I mean, some people might disagree with me, but I think the transfer window, I've classed it this particular summer, Ryan, as an industry within an industry, where and I've spoken to players who've been on the receiving end of transfers, and there's not a pot of gold at the end of every transfer window. There really isn't. For example, Austin Trusty. What's going to happen to him now?
He'll probably turn that out again.
Yeah, but he's 2 years younger than Timber.
I know, but what I'm saying is he'll probably get loaned out again, because it just seems like it was the Cronkies using the club because they're Americanized, they were using the club as bringing in the import from the US. Look, we're doing this, but off you go and get your experience elsewhere, and we're selling one for a quick buck, basically. But using the MLS as and their country as basically a marketing scheme, basically. Or was it years ago? Junichi Inamoto. That was a marketing signing, and I think Timber's been a similar thing, but obviously we're not giving him minutes, whereas we brought him in, gave him a couple of minutes, and then sent him out on loan, and then lost him, and then sold him for free or something, or something for a few quid to Fulham. It was just like, it seems like one of them sort of things where we saw it under Roman Abramovich when he was Chelsea. A difference is when it was with him, obviously the players actually brought in from that side of the world, be it Russian or Ukrainian or whoever, they were getting the minutes anyway. They were given the opportunities. Whereas it was like Ivanovic and players like that, or Shevchenko was established, but bringing it, as I say, he was established, Shevchenko. He made a point that no, I want him. He's going to be my player, no matter who the manager is and things like that. Ivanovic, no one really heard of until he got brought over in the Premier League wise. But it was just, again, I'm from this side of the world. I'm going to get played from that side of the world, and off you go, basically. Whereas it seems like our owners, like, we're American. We've got an American league, so we're going to take a picking of a couple of players. One of them will be our number 2, and push our number 1 and all that in Matt Turner. And the other one is just there, just for the sake of it. That's what we'll bring him in, push him out into Europe. Well, they said into Europe, but they put him up in the Midlands of England, for fuck's sake. And they say
he got player
of the year again. In a struggling team. And again, he's a fullback. And at the start of the season, at one point, he was their top goal scorer at one point because he was a scorer. And again, people need to remember in terms of the Championship and Birmingham City as a whole. Championship's a hard league. Let's not get it twisted.
Exactly.
Birmingham City has not been well run recently in the last few years. There's a lot of mess going on there.
Bang on. Absolutely.
And people, I said to Mr. Tom in the chat, he's a league, and I said, if anything, you know what, he'll do a job for you because obviously he's been in the league this season. He'll know what to expect. He could do a job for you. Or he comes back with but he was at Birmingham City and look at the goals that they leaked. They're the most leaky defence in the league. I was like, that's not down to him solely. There's 3 other players and a goalkeeper that could have kept that ball out of the net. So let's not go to that one.
But you also see how it seeps down into the youth. I mean, I've got a mate of mine as son plays FIFA, and he said I went to visit him a couple of weeks back, and he said, James, he said, I sometimes buy the FIFA packs. I said, right. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to write down 3 names for you on a piece of paper. I said, buy these players and your team will improve. So he's done his little thing on his little gadget. And he said to me, he said, they're all really, really cheap. I said, yeah, but I'm trying to make you understand something. I'm trying to make you understand that in the real world, these players are brilliant footballers. Alfonso Pedraza at Villarreal, Benjamin Boricchio at Rennes, and Ricardo Escayal at Sporting Lisbon. These are not £50 million players, but with your eye, you've seen how good they are. And like you see, for example, with the transfer, like Romano's got, I think, like 17 million followers. But Romano, I can tell you now, Ryan, players and managers are not happy with contract details being discussed. They're not happy with him revealing how much money they're on or what's going to happen in the inner sanctum of the game. I mean, we've recently lost Craig Brown, the former Scotland manager. When I interviewed him, he said to me, James, he said, I must say that's one of the most courteous interviews. I think the most courteous interview I think I've ever had. And I'm thinking, this is a former Scotland manager. This is assistant to arguably the greatest British manager of all time when Ferguson managed Scotland. So when you reach a high level, I mean, obviously now without a publisher, it's a little bit difficult, and I'm relying on past glories, so to speak. But I've also got my standards. It's like, for example, I wrote for Football Aranya, and they re-released my interview with Maurice Stein, who's now manager of Ajax, but I spoke to him 6 years ago when he was manager of VVV Venlo. But they didn't accredit me on it. I got a message from a mate of mine on WhatsApp saying, "Isn't this your interview?" I said, "Yes, it is my interview." And when they were questioned about it, they said, "Oh, James, give it to us all these years ago." Yes, I did. But also, they have to remember that the interview was conducted in Dutch, translated by yours truly, and thankfully, everything is spot on. Because I won't allow something to be published which is not spot on. But you see now how, like, we've got our memories. We've got our memories from Highbury days, from Emirates days, from away days, from everything. And nobody can take those memories away from us. Nobody.
No.
And I must say, one of the things that's really helped me this year is on the YouTube, all the suggested channels, apart from your channel and Alex's channel, Cannon Fodder, you keep them on there and then you get rid of the rest. But what I do is I log on to the BBC transfer list site once a day. And I go through it with a fine tooth comb. Like Ender Stevens has gone to Stoke. He's a good player. Ben Pearson's also gone to Stoke. He's a good player. So I think Stoke will have a good season. But as I say, it's just becoming an industry within an industry where, it's no longer about how good is the player. It's about, he's worth this amount. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said on this channel and on Cannon Fodder and a couple of others as well, and I'll say it once again. Any player that anyone watching today, Gooner or non-Gooner, whoever they may be, if you are watching a player and you rate him or her, doesn't matter, stick with them. Stick with them and watch their career blossom. If you're in a group where people go, "Oh, they're crap," let them have their opinion, but you know that you're right. Like, for example, in recent seasons for me, Bordeaux at Rennes, watched him live. I still cannot believe nobody has picked him up. Alfonso Pedraza, when Villarreal won the Europa League, I can't believe nobody's picked him up. Ricardo Esgaio, he was my find of last season. Because you know an awful lot, but you don't know everything. Nobody does. And Ricardo Esgaio was my find of the season last season. I don't know who it's going to be this year. I'll let you know. There's always someone that comes. There's always, but that's what
let the window close. Let the window close first, and then we'll assess it from there.
Yeah, but that's what. I knew nothing about Ricardo Esgaio. But then when you dig a little deeper, he's played more than 100 games for Braga. So you must have something about you, because apart from the big three, Braga, along with Vitória Guimarães, are the team that's made the most progress in Portugal in recent years, because they've got a president in Antonio Oliveira, who's the man's obsessed. He wants Braga to get to the highest possible level. And I just think it's important. We're not that old, neither of us, but we've seen an awful lot and we've experienced an awful lot. And as I say, nobody can take our memories away from us. And like now, you've got all the esports and all the channels and stuff like that. But you've also got a responsibility to tell the truth. I mean, like for me, the manager of Ajax, I've sat down one-on-one with him, Maurice Stein. He gave me an hour of his time. We spoke about everything. 6 years later, he's now managing the biggest club in the country. So that day I had with him when he invited me to Venlo and we sat in his managerial office, that's an amazing thing. Whereas you've got some people on different socials, they've never set foot in the manager's office. They've never spoken to any prof of any ilk, but yet they've got so much weight behind their opinions, and it just goes to show it's a massive sign of the times, isn't it?
No, exactly. I think in terms of journey, we mentioned Fabricio. You told me before that, obviously, managers and clubs alike can't stand him and basically don't like that he puts so much information out on either contract renewals or a new signing. If a new signing comes in, or how much you're going to get each week and all that. Because what was it, Saliba, Recent Nelson and Saliba, in terms of an Arsenal perspective, he's been banging on for weeks, obviously, on his socials and on his YouTube platform that is done and dusted. And as it's announced, within an hour of it being announced officially by the club, he's putting it out there how much they're getting per week and things like that. It's like, do we actually need to know? As fans, do we need to know? Look, as far as I'm concerned, if the player's playing for the club, I don't care how much, as long as he plays for the club and he's committed, he doesn't cause any anarchy, I couldn't give a rat's backside how much he's on. Because at the end of the day, the industry, what it is, they're going to be on it. They're going to be on a lot of money, no matter what their payment structure is like, because you've got there's the wage, the weekly wage, sponsorship deals, depending on what clubs they're at, etc., bonuses on the top of goals and clean sheets, this, that, and the other. So they're going to be well off anyway. So it doesn't really bother me how much they get, as long as they're doing their job and earning that, basically, and not just turn up for the pay packet like we had the back end of Wenger's time. Like the players just felt like the players would turn up for a pay packet and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we've got players that care, I don't give a rat's, as I say, don't give a rat's backside. We don't need to. We as a public don't need to know that information, and the club must get the club. That's just Arsenal. I think that's another reason why Arsenal are so, in terms of, for example, you and Timber, in the instance of when it came out, it was like it just came out of nowhere. In terms of David Ornstein dropped it, this is happening, done, off we go. Before that, there was no inkling that Arsenal were interested. Like was it last year, February of the year, though. Literally no inkling. On the day, bang, done, dusted, boom, in he comes. Them sort of signs, in terms of more so Fabio, in terms of how it was done, was a throwback to years ago when he didn't have social media. He didn't have someone like Fabrizio up just poking his nose and everything and putting it out there before the young clubs made an offer. This whole Declan Rice thing, we've known the entire world has known in terms of Arsenal wanting Declan Rice since January, because people like Fabrizio are going every day, Arsenal interested. It's just like, and the club must be thinking like, just shut up and let us do our business, please, because they're making it more.
It's also irresponsible, Ryan. As I say, I'm not holier than thou, but I've been told on 5 different occasions about transfers in my career as a writer and interviewer. 5 separate occasions I've been told where a player is going. Not once, out of respect for the player, out of respect for the club, and also more importantly, out of respect for myself, I didn't utter a word. I could have done, but
exactly, you could have done, but morals. It's about morals.
Yeah, well, that's what enabled me to eventually go on to interview over 400 professional players and managers. I mean, like in the first instance, it was, for example, there's a British guy who wants to interview me in Dutch. How good is he? And then word gets around, and then all of a sudden, it's James. I'll speak to him on Tuesday. But I think it's also very much a sign of the times, and also partly irresponsible. But nothing stays the same forever. Like you were saying,
I understand that, but at the same time, it's just a bit like, like you say, like you, out of respect, have some respect for the industry that you came to love and all that.
Exactly, because we're on the grand scheme of things. I'm not in the inner sanctum of it. I've had one job interview for a professional football club, which was Charlton Athletic. I unfortunately didn't get it, but there must be a reason why. But at least I had a go. But as I say, I think it's very much a sign of the times. And as you were saying before we round off, Ryan, as well, years before social media, we had Club Call. Do you remember that? Yeah. We had teletext.
Teletext,
both of us, we're not that old. Both of us are not that old, but we've experienced an awful lot, which is priceless. I mean, I had a mate of mine come into my home the other day. And he looked at my Arsenal programme collection, which is in my bookcase, and it's all chronological, all done properly. And he said, "James, that must be worth thousands." I said, "Yeah, but it's not about money." I said, "It's about the sentimental value." And I opened up one of the binders just to show him, right? And the game was Arsenal Middlesbrough in December 2001, and then boom, everything come back to me. I was in the North Bank with my mate Ricky. I think we won 2-0. I remember the guy behind us couldn't keep his emotions in check. And it's funny how that when you flick through your programs every now and again, everything goes boom. Everything comes back. Yeah. And in the digital age, Ajax don't do programs anymore. But it's it's very important to remember what's gone before, and at least we've got our memories.
Yeah, in terms of you talk about the digital age and all that. I mean, during the lockdown, Arsenal tested out the digital programs like for anyone who couldn't go to the stadium, obviously because it was all locked down and this and the other. But again, the demand isn't there. The people want the physical copy of a program. Exactly. I was on a show with Melvin. Melvin was hosting back into the season, and is asking me to, because obviously my agent and all that do, I'll get programs and all that. To be honest, I make a point of every game I go to, I make a point of getting a program, but just because it's, be it home or away, is part of the day itself, and obviously you something to look back on and read and this and the other. But yeah, obviously the time will come when obviously they will force that upon us in terms of the digital aspect, maybe, because obviously in terms of the memberships now, it's all going the whole ticketing side of things in terms of match days now from this season coming. For home games, it's going to be, the tickets are going to be sent digitally to us. I mean, I've got tickets for the Community Shield in August, and I've been told that literally they're not sending tickets out for that. We've got to print it off at home. I mean, it's just like, it is what it is. It's coming with a timeline of saving the trees and this, that, and everything, using less paper, things like that. I understand that.
Yeah, of course.
But things, as I say, things do move on, and we have to move with the times to an aspect. But certain little things they can keep where they keep them as they are, like programs, keep them as they are.
Yeah.
There's no need at this moment in time, because again, we say the demand is there for the physical, having something physical in your hand to look back on, other than because digital is all well and good, but something goes wrong, be it hacked or whatever, you lose that memory in terms of having that thing. It's not physically in your hand. Yeah,
gone like thin air. Ajax as well. I went to 2 Ajax games last season at home to Volendam and at home to RKC Waalwijk. It's uploaded in your app, and once the game is gone, like thin air, like it never happened. You've got nothing tangible to remember that game by. Nothing. Whereas before, you used to have programs, and they stopped doing them about 15 years ago. And I used to love it, because obviously I'd only just arrived here at the time, and it was a great source of reading material. But as I say, it's when I've had some great chats with Melvin as well through the years, and the programs are such an important thing. You know, I mean, like if my house is on fire, it's family photos and programs. Yeah, it's because you can't replace them. Because I mean, that game I was telling you about, Arsenal Middlesbrough in December 2001, my ticket stub's in the middle, and it's Highbury. And you remember the ticket stub at Highbury used to have the view looking out onto the East Stand. Yeah, and that was on your ticket. You know, your block and all that. And I used to put it with a bit of blue tack in there, and make sure it all nice and neat. And I always say it's your life's work. It's your life's work. And as I say, I'm hopeful of a Luton at home this year, potential Champions League. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak again, Ryan. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed the Charity Shield. And I look forward to speaking ahead of, maybe we'll speak after Champions League draw and have a first reaction on that.
Yeah, we can do, definitely. Yeah. When's the date for that draw, by the way? Do we know that, or they haven't announced yet? Because obviously, qualifiers
1st of August, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah, because we organised something around that. And the time we'll discuss it more near the time, obviously, when it suits our schedule and all that, in terms of maybe doing something live reaction as it happens or whatever. But look, I look forward to it.
I don't know if I can do live reaction, but I'll be able to.
Yeah, but obviously we'll play it by ear, don't we? That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no.
If we can do it afterwards, whatever. Yeah, we'll work it all out near the time. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but I like that sort of things, obviously, because again, if it's something new, a team we haven't played before, and you've got a bit more insight, it's good to get that insight and just like, see how that plays out and things like that. Or could they be a test for us? People also got to write them off, but they cause us a bit of anarchy. Because again, like we've mentioned, and like it's been mentioned by the Aussie Gooner, the comment we mentioned before about half an hour ago. The majority of this squad don't have Champions League experience, and this will be no matter how easy or how extra hard this group will be in the group stages. It's going to be a baptism of fire either way, especially the away games against the pot 3 team, against the pot 4 team, because it's Arsenal, and we're going to be seen as that that glory moment, basically, where the David versus Goliath still, and they're going to up their game a bit more, basically, especially in front of their home crowd and all that. So that's where we need like again another positive guy Havertz, and bringing him in is because he's been playing Champions League for the last few years at Chelsea. No matter how things have gone there, generally been there. He'll know recently how the layout is. Jurrien Timber being at Ajax, he's been playing Champions League for the last few years. So again, I get it from that perspective. Partey, again, people in terms of the player itself, we need him to stay, even though he hasn't been playing. He's been playing with us for the last few years in the Open and all that. He played Champions League more recent in the club because of the Atletico. We do need some. Saliba, when he was out on loan to Marseille, I think was in the Champions League. So we do need to add a bit more Champions League experience to our squad. Otherwise, they're going to be found wanting, and it could be embarrassing for us. But the ones that haven't need to straight away wake up, shape up, and be prepared for what's going to be thrown at them from all aspects in that group. No matter who we get, we could get obviously one. We're going to get a tough team in terms of Champions League, the Champions pot. Sorry, the pot 3 and pot 4 could go our way in terms of an unknown team that no one knows, or we back ourselves, but they'll back themselves because they're thinking, well, we've got nothing to lose, and we saw it over the years. AZ Alkmaar and things like that, when their debut seasons and all, FC. Remember the season we got to the Champions League final, FC Tour match day 1, debut season and they made us work for that. How we got out of that, I don't. In terms of that game itself, I don't know. And even in the away games in that group against FC Thun, we only just won that. I think they only just won that 1-0 or 2-0. I think it was something like that. It wasn't the most easiest of games. And again, these players need to know the players that haven't been here need to know that. And I think, and as I said at the start of this stream, Ramsdale, I'm old school like yourself. I don't care. Matt Turner's number 2. He wants minutes because of the World Cup coming up in a couple of years' time. I don't care. No, if Ramsdale's fit and available, he has to start, because what's going to happen is Matt Turner starts in the group stages, no matter whatever, yeah. And then come the knockout rounds, say that from the first knockout round onwards or the quarterfinal onwards, when on the draw, suddenly Ramsdale will be in goal, make a mistake, and then we're back to square one again. Because he'll be like, oh, it's all new to me. And he makes the lights, this, and the glamour of it. He goes, and the excitement gets overexcited, makes a mistake, and then we're out of the cup. And then what? You get him in early, you get him used to it, especially away from home in Europe.
Yeah,
that's the crux of it. Get him used to that in the group stages. So then, when it comes to if we were to get through the group, hopefully, touch wood.
Depends who it is.
Depends on the draw. It depends on the draw officers. That's why I say hoping, and then depending on how we would get in the knockouts, he's then prepared. He is at the culture shock come February 2024 next year. Oh, this is completely new to me. This isn't Europa League. This is Champions League. Oh no.
Yeah,
he's used to it.
I think. I mean, I've been on your channel for years, Ryan. I've always given an honest opinion. When that draw is made, I will give a yay or a nay as to whether we'll get through. And people might go, "Oh, yeah," but it's the longer you've been out of it, the more difficult it is. That's what people have got to realise first and foremost.
Especially with the lack of experience we've got in terms of Champions League experience. As I say, apart from the players we're bringing in terms of Timber and Kai Havertz, Saliba played half a season or a season at Marseille, where he was in Champions League or Europa League, a bit of both. So he's had a bit of experience there at Marseille. Gabriel, was he? I don't think he played Champions League, did he? Lille. They just qualified. No, they just qualified and he came to us. So, Pepe obviously looks like he's on his way out, but again, he hasn't played Champions League football. Saka, obviously we don't. Saka hasn't. Odegaard he's never played Champions League football. Partey has, but not recently in the last few years. So the ones that have are the ones we're bringing in. So also Jurrien. Jorginho's a big. He's a bit have his work cut out. His experience, so he's going to be leaned on as well, because again, like Havertz, he's been playing Champions League for the last few years with Chelsea, so he's won it with Chelsea. So, but we do this. This news about Declan Rice, as fantastic as it is in terms of Declan Rice and Timber and adding depth to our squad, this can't just be it for Arsenal. They need to go out and get some more Champions League experience into this squad. Even if it's just squad players, as long as they have Champions League, the recent Champions League experience, so we can lean on, fantastic. Because otherwise, this team's going to get a culture shock, and I'll fear for that. No matter what group, no matter what sort of group we get, because we saw it last year with them lot down the road. They won the window. They brought in Perisic, all this experience, and then they almost got found out. It was only by the last knocking at the skin of their teeth, last kick of the game, that they got out of that group. They were 30 seconds away from being knocked out. One kick of a ball changed that.
It was a tough group. It was a tough group as well.
Yeah, Marseille.
I remember
Marseille.
I remember being on a podcast with your good self, asking you, do you honestly think if that was us, we'd have got out of that?
We'd struggled.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And people might say, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, but we played one of them teams in Lisbon later on in the Europa League. And they knocked us out over 2 legs.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
and in the recent past, we've been beaten by Spurs and beaten by Frankfurt. And if my memory serves me rightly, when we played Marseille in the Champions League at home, we didn't win. Because I remember for some reason it was a 0-0 draw, and for some reason I didn't go to that game. I was here, but for some reason I didn't go. I can't remember why. But it's been an absolute pleasure today, Ryan. I really enjoyed it.
No worries, we'll go back things up anyway. Yeah, absolutely no problem. Thanks for the time. Obviously, it was a bit of a hectic one. I did reach out yesterday. I've been trying to get a new setup and trying to get up and running as well. So it's been manic as well. And in Arsenal, we knew it was coming today, but no sign until that half hour before he announced, oh, by the way, get onto the Arsenal YouTube site. You don't want to miss it. So we knew it was coming, but I'm out at this point. I'm out doing bits and pieces down in town. I think other.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
Living life and doing the things you need to do. So never mind in the nose. It's more in the life kind of thing, you know.
Exactly, but obviously this was planned. It was somewhat planned-ish. I reached out yesterday, and obviously it didn't take all the time. And then I was out, and this and the other, and back and forth, and then they announced it. I was like, okay, if you're still available, James, can we still do this? You was kind enough to say yes, still, no problem, and I appreciate that. And hopefully, as I say, we start the season just before or just after the season starts, when we know the Champions League draw comes along. We will come back and revisit this, and basically we'll know our squad by then as well. In terms of the window will be closed, hopefully by then. I think the day of or whatever. We'll know our squad and we'll know if our team started off well in the league as well, because obviously 30th of August we'll have played 3 or 4 games by then.
Yeah, Forest, and then Palace, and then Fulham and United.
So 4 games. We'll be 4 games in. And then literally, so the Champions League, it's going to be a draw, and then a week later it kicks off, does it? I think like last year, that was weird.
The game is 20th of September.
Okay, so I've got a few weeks. They've got a few weeks to prepare at least. Last year was weird because it's like, oh, we got 1 week, off you go. The draw's here, you got 1 week.
It's just unreal, isn't it? And but we shall see how it goes. But looking forward to in the aftermath of the Champions League.
Yeah, definitely. And as I say, once we know the ins and outs of things near the time, we'll sort out the show for that. But again, thanks, James, and obviously hope to have you on again before the season starts to get your quick thoughts on things, bits and pieces as we get closer to the season kicking underway. We'll know our strengths, our weaknesses. We will know who's going to be our main competitive rivals, not just City, obviously the obvious one there, but who else could be competitively putting us to the sword and to keeping us on our toes respectively. Hopefully not Tottenham. That's going to be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting with Kane as well. It does make me laugh it does make me laugh when you've got people saying, "Oh yeah, winning the league with Bayern Munich won't mean as much as breaking the record." If he ends his career, but if he ends his career trophyless.
It means nothing.
That would drive me round the bend. If I was a professional footballer at the top level and I didn't win a sausage, that I had millions of pounds, you only get one career.
Yeah.
You only get one career, you know, and I think the opportunity is for him now to win a few medals. He can always come back and break the record. You can't tell him
He could go off. Yeah, he's what? He's 30 this summer. He could go off for a couple of years, come back. Yeah, he could go off a couple of years, get a bit of the winning experience, come back, maybe do something. You never know.
No, exactly. But I mean, it's to say, I know they say loyalty is difficult to find, but you wanna. You got to win things. Like Saka's signed a 4-year deal with us.
Yeah,
if we don't win anything this year, he's also going to start to think about things.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got to put that silverware on the sideboard.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, just thinking about that. Yeah, actually, you've added the equation. Actually, that makes it even more pressure for Arteta and the club in general. Okay, cool. But yeah, protecting assets as well. It's not just rewarding the players. Like you've been saying for years, as if we finish off here. You've been saying that we've given that. I think as long as we've been doing this channel, like whenever you come on, like we've given players contracts, but we're not rewarding them for what they can do for us. It's what they've done up to a point. Whereas now we're giving contracts for the right reasons, not just so, you're a key player. That's it. That's the only reason we're signing up for a new contract. And the thing is, the players want to stay here. I mean, was it Smith? Obviously, was it last 2 years ago now? This season just gone alone. Gabriel, Martinelli, Saliba, Reece Nelson, Saka, Ramsdale, other guys around the corner as well. And then you're adding in the equation, obviously, like the Declan, your Jurrien Timbers, Kai Havertz is coming in. They're wanting to come in. And people are excited again in terms of players. Even players that we're linked to are saying, you know what, you're doing something here and we want to be part of it. Which we didn't have that for God knows how long. But yeah, it is what it is. And we see how it goes. As I say, this cannot be it now. Hopefully, we might see a few outgoings before we see another incoming, maybe, because obviously you've got to balance the books. And that side of things. And in terms of players that might not get minutes, off you go, or it's a surplus requirement like Cedric, for example. You might see him go before he brings someone else in, respectively. But we'll go from there, see how it plays out from that. But apart from that, guys, thanks for obviously coming along. Big thank you to James, as I've already said, for taking that time out over just over an hour and 12 minutes. The audio for this will be out soon, by the way. And all the regulars and all some of the new faces, big up to yourselves. Thank you. If you are new to the channel, do subscribe, do smash that like button, and do so the content around it does massively help. If you want to listen to this back on, if you missed this part of this show, you want to listen to it again, go and listen to this on Spotify in about a half hour's time or so onwards when the audio goes up. But yeah, as I say, I am in the middle of rejigging my setup here, so it's been a bit anarchy for the last 24 hours. So yeah, the next time you'll probably see me now will be Thursday late Thursday night in the UK. Was it 10:30? I think it is for the kickoff for the MLS All-Star game. That's going to be interesting. If I don't fall asleep on that one. So I'll be covering. I'll be doing a watch along for that. So keep an eye out for the stream when that goes up in the next couple of days or so. So just keep out that link and promote that as well. You'll probably see me then. If anything happens before that, obviously I'll come live and discuss it. But apart from that, probably more likely you'll see me Thursday. And then the next podcast will be on Friday with Ange and her panel and all that, talking all things Arsenal, obviously in respective, obviously in the friendly game, and more touching on as well the official announcement. Because again, I knew Timber and Declan were done. Everything was done literally 7 days ago. On Saturday, all the paperwork, all the media stuff was all done. It's just a matter of officially announcing it. I think the reason we kicked the Declan Rice thing down the road as long as we have is because West Ham are pushing buttons, and we were just like, who do you think you are? Sort of go away. We're doing our own good time. Aside from that, yeah. I'll see you soon, guys. And as always, keep going to the long mouse here. As always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you guys.
Up the Arsenal.